classroom. As a Boy Scout during the war, he would spot incoming planes, and he would recognise each one simply by the sound of its engine, a skill that reflected his remarkable memory and his keen interest in aviation. Also at that time, he recalled cycling to school when a German bomb landed just 100 yards ahead of him. A near miss that became a lasting story of both luck and history. As with planes, his fascination with trains was equally profound, instilled by his father. As a child, he would watch the railway at Chandler's Ford through gaps in the houses and the trees, spending hours mesmerised by the passing locomotives. Incidentally, did you know that Bill's namesake, William James, born in 1771, was known as the father of the railways, playing a crucial, often overlooked role during the development of the railways in the Industrial Revolution. It was perhaps destiny that during his national service at Longmoor Military Railway, Bill found himself perfectly placed in an environment that united with his fascination with railways and his patriotic duty. Steve shares a heartwarming anecdote about Bill's deep love of railways. For a particularly special birthday, his sister Joan gifted him a share in the Puffing Billy Railway, located just outside Melbourne, Australia, when they were being sold to raise restoration funds. About 5 years ago, during one of his annual visits to see Bill's grandson Chris and his two great-granddaughters, Olivia and Charlotte, Steve had the good fortune of experiencing a ride on the Puffin Billy. Weeks after returning home, he mentioned the railway to Bill, only for him to proudly declare, "I'm a shareholder." Then he recounted the story behind his investment. The James family passion for steam railways knows no borders. It's a truly global fascination. After national service, Bill pursued engineering, completing his degree at Southampton University in just 2 years. His career took him from British Rail in Brighton as a railway draftsman to WG Bagnalls in Stafford as a steam engineer, contributing to the design, amongst others, of the locomotives that you see on the order of service. From there, he moved to the Wirral to work at the Metal Box Company, a global leader in packaging manufacturing. When the company closed in 1978, making national news, Bill adapted once again, taking his expertise to British Leather in Birkenhead, where his sons recall the distinct odour of his workdays, a vivid and amusing reminder of his dedication. Bill's career was as varied as it was impressive. Prior to British Leather, he'd moved up to Durham. He worked at Middleton Plastics in Cheltenham, living in hotels during the week to avoid yet another house move. He also worked in technical sales at Chloride at Clifton Junction, still connected to the railways in its own way. Later, he applied his expertise to designing technical drawings of compressed air systems as part of his own consultancy business work. Even after retirement, Bill remained involved, finishing his career as Adlington Council Town Clerk, where he worked alongside the current Speaker of the House, the Right Honourable Sir Lindsay Hoyle, MP for Chorley. And then he devoted himself to his greatest passion, aside from family, immersing himself in the world of trains on the East Lancashire Railway. A true all-rounder, he tackled track work, engine maintenance, and he could recount every single bench that he painted. When the physical demands became too much, he transitioned to the ticket office and the Santa Special decoration, continuing this dedication well into his 90s. He shared his intellect and experience through lectures for the Workers' Education Association in Bolton, as well as the Manchester Locomotive and Chorley Model Railway Societies, where he was surrounded by dedicated enthusiasts who deeply appreciated his meticulously catalogued collection of millions of slides. Through all these experiences, one thing remained constant: Bill's love for his family. Married first to Barbara, he was father to Steve and to Mark. Bill and Barbara rode tandem bikes together. Steve has a vivid memory of this as he rode between them on a specially adapted third seat. Later, in 1972, he married again to his beloved Anne, blending their families and embracing her children, Sarah, Charlotte and Simon. Between them all, Bill became a proud grandfather to 12, a great-grandfather to 21, and a great-great-grandfather to 1. A living testament to the legacy he created. After Anne's passing in 2017, Bill found love once more in his later years with Delphine, whom he met through friends at Adlington Library. Their time together brought him warmth, friendship, and the comfort of shared moments. A reminder that love endures throughout all stages of life. I'd now like to invite Mark and then Simon to speak to you about their father, Bill.
Okay. Thank you, Jane. And before I start, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. What a wonderful turnout. Our wonderful dad, granddad, or Bill, as many of you will know him, was a big fan of The Goon Show, and he would have enjoyed laughter. So whilst my stepbrother Simon and I cannot promise that level of comedy for this, we will do our best to bring you some happy, fun memories of life with our amazing dad, Bill. Firstly, though, as we and you all knew, he was a clever, smart, well-read dad with an encyclopedic memory for the facts of the topics he loved. Whilst not officially a railway historian, Dad's level of knowledge would have qualified him for sure. I cannot remember a car or a train journey in his company that didn't include evidence of old railway presence being noted, reported, and then always fully recorded and indexed at home amongst those millions of slides. My strongest memories of a young child are all from road trips in various of his Austin cars. Dad was a master of route planning, usually taking in railway places, of course, but always based upon detailed map planning long before those phone apps that we all find so handy now did it all for you. Front or back seat, I was always presented with the folded map and told to follow and ensure we managed the route. Though obviously his unfailing memory for the route he had prepared would not have let us down anyway. By the way, his encyclopedic memory for train facts was only narrowly shaded by his memory for route marking locations, which on 99% of occasions were pubs. He may not have visited many of them, but he knew exactly where they were in terms of the route, and I still use that habit now. Even on our yearly summer trips to Holland, where various Austins were hoisted onto ships in cradles at Harwich, and we sat in deck chairs crossing to the Hook of Holland, he would agree to disagree with my Uncle Denny about the landmarks that we were going to use to follow that route to the next Dutch Trawf, the next Dutch landmark. These were absolutely amazing 2-week-long trips packed with excitement for the young me, but I'm sure you can imagine they always included military, industrial or railway heritage sites along the way. There's a theme. As I've discovered recently in discussion with him, he's still nearly 60 years on, has boxes on boxes of slides, beautifully catalogued, and for those who remember or have seen his writing, he could write a full essay on the side of a slide that big. Some of you may know Dad also shot in half frame, a clever dodge because that meant he could get 72 frames out of a 36-shot film. More slides. And boy did he use them all, even sometimes capturing family events rather than the transport or architecture, that a skill that I seem to have acquired from him. For a pre-junior school meet, every Saturday morning meant a road trip to his office at British Leather in Birkenhead. A challenging place, as Jane has said, for a sensitive young nose. But I can still see in my mind's eye this seemingly huge, appropriately leather-topped desk, right in front of this half-moon riverside window, with the whole of the developing cityscape of Liverpool as its view. They were building the Roman Catholic Cathedral, otherwise known as the Crown of Thorns to the locals at the time, and it seemed just like a painting to me, and I made a mental note to myself, whatever job I chose, I was going to make sure I got an office with a view like that. His love and enthusiasm for steam engine railways properly rubbed off on me, and I'm now in my 47th year of my railway career. And the fact that I still bounce out of bed, as Ebony tells me every morning, to do what I do every day, because he said to me at 15, if I were you, I'd go and get a British Rail apprenticeship. That way you can work at your hobby every day. How right he was. I did once, by the way, achieve a similar Mersey waterfront view. When I worked at Liverpool Lime Street Station for some months, I managed to get an office on the 15th floor of the tower block. I had a clear view of the Birkenhead waterfront. Sadly, by then, the late 90s British Leather had gone, but I was very proud to take some pictures to share with him. Whilst Dad was at British Leather, the late Queen Elizabeth II was to come to Wirral to open the new Kingsway Mersey Tunnel. Unbeknownst to me, Dad had a plan, so he picked me up spiritedly from in an Austin 1800 Landcrab and whisked me across from school to a tip in Wallasey. It was his tip. We were doing an impromptu spoil tip inspection, as I found out after. It meant, though, we could press ourselves against the tip fence, me on his shoulders, and not be more than 50 yards from the Queen as she stepped out of her Rolls Royce onto the Wirral. We even made it into the backdrop of some of the press photos. You couldn't do that these days. Two other things to relate from me before I hand over to Simon. Dad had the wanderlust in the mid-late 60s, it appears, and was keen to relocate for the right engineering job. My late mum less so. He took a job in County Durham working for a company called Patcher Plymouth that had a few upsides for me, unexpectedly. As an American company, quaint little English company cars were not sufficient. So out went the Cortina and in came the Zodiac. What a monster. With a huge front seat, meaning I could sit in the middle, and he had the gears on the column, which meant I could get involved in the drive. It seemed like it was out of a movie to me. Huge as it was, I do also recall the snowdrifts in Newcastle being as high as the trees. The Hedgefield Inn Hotel in Concert had him as a regular guest, and we used to drive up on a weekend to see him in our bright red Mini Countryman, for those of us who remember when they still had wood on the side. CUP 123G was the reg, that's one I remember. Back in those days, large town hotels provided entertainment for their guests and their locals. And I was therefore unexpectedly able to spend my weekend afternoons learning to play the drums, jazz brushy style, as Jad loves jazz. But even more unexpectedly, I learnt to belly dance with a lady called Niana. Sadly, both those skills have left me now. After concert, Dad chose different geography completely and took a job in leafy Cheltenham with a company called Middleton Plastics, making plastic bottles, kind of a return to the future. That meant much to my mum's frustration. Every supermarket trip with a young me required a prolonged visit to the washing up household cleaning aisle so I could turn every bottle upside down to find his logo and announce to the whole store, my dad's work. That meant, in handing over to Simon now, my abiding memories of a wonderful father to Steve and I, and Simon, Sarah and Charlotte, was that he was always kind, always appeared attentive to what mattered to me, was always knowledgeable and gave great advice. He had a very big heart and was also very soft-hearted and always put others before himself. I know absolutely, Dad, where my unruly, as Ebony terms them, curly eyebrows come from now. But thankfully, you also seem to have blessed me with your total lack of crow's feet. Yours are still absent, even at 96. Though sadly, you did reserve your youthful hairline for my brother. Thank you, Dad, for everything. I love you now. I love you always. Please be at peace. Simon.